Welcome to JonGetsGames. Today, I'm going to talk about Cavemen, the Quest for Fire. This is a light engine building game with a small auction mechanic and a whole bunch of amazing art. First, I'm going to show you how to play the game. Then I'm going to jump into my review, and I'm going to end my video by giving you guys a poll to tell me what game you guys want me to review next.
Alright, so how do we play Cavemen, the Quest for Fire? In the beginning of the game, each player is going to have a starting village setup identical to this, where they have a single cave, which can hold 4 different cave people, a tribal leader, and a fighter. Let's take a look at the icons on these guys. We've got Baroon here, who has a single arrowhead symbol, and Abi, who has 2. This means that the collective fighting power of our village here is 3 at the beginning of the game. We also see that Baroon has a single light bulb symbol. The light bulbs are the icon for technology in this game, and this is Cavemen, the Quest for Fire! And in order to fulfill this quest for fire, to invent fire, we are going to need 7, 9, or 10 light bulbs, depending on the number of players in the game. This is also a pretty good time to note, we got a little candle inside of a ceramic light bulb. The art in this game is very interesting in that every single card is unique, and every single card is a photograph of an actual claymation sculpture, so pretty cool. Anyway, we're going to need quite a few light bulbs in order to win the game. The last icon is this little apple here, and a 2. This means at the beginning of the game, the foraging value of our village is 2. Alright, so how do turns actually work? Well, we've got this totally cool starting player token here, and it's going to pass to the left person of the prior starting player, and that person will begin a bidding round to see who will be the actual starting player of the round. In this case, you are bidding teeth in order to become the starting player, and you're just going to either pass or keep increasing the bid values until one person remains. That person is going to pay teeth to the bank equal to whatever they bid, and no one else has to pay any teeth. There are 2 pros and 1 con to being the starting player. Unfortunately, the con comes first. Right after we figure out who goes first, we are going to feed our villages. If you do not have the starting player token, it only costs a single food to feed your whole village, no matter how many cave people you have. However, if you are the starting player, it's going to cost 1 food per cave person when you feed your people. In the beginning of the game, this is not that big of a deal. You have 2 people versus only spending 1. But once you start having 5, 6, 7, 8 cave people, that's a very big difference. So those pros better really make up for it. And they oftentimes do. So now let's talk about how we take the turns themselves. We've got our starting player. Every single person is going to take a single action, except the starting player is going to take 1 more action once everyone has gone. So the starting player takes the first and last action of the round, with everyone else going once in between. The actions consist of taking cards from this card row, except for foraging, which I'll cover first. Foraging is very simple. You just look at the apple value of your village, and you take that amount of food from the supply and throw them into your stock. So that's simple. The rest of them involve taking cards from this card row. The first one is we can recruit a fighter. We see that Lou the fighter here takes 2 food or 1 tooth in order to recruit him into our village. When we do that, we're going to get 2 more arrowheads though, so that's pretty great. The next thing that we could do as an action is we can fight a creature. In this case, we have a direwolf here. In order to fight this direwolf, we're going to need an attack power in our village equal to 1. And when you fight a creature, you automatically kill it, and it's going to give you 1 tooth and 2 food. However, you have to draw from the top of the deck of cards in order to see if this direwolf killed anybody as you were killing it. So what you do is you draw the top card, and then you don't look at anything on the card except those little stones in the bottom left corner. We see there are 4 in this case. They range from 1 to 5. Now we look at our village, and we see if any cave people in our village have stone pit values equal to that. In this case, we're fine, a 4, and we only have a 3, so we kill this direwolf, no problem. This card is discarded as well, and then we get our 1 tooth and our 2 food for killing the direwolf, so that's great. However, if we had drawn this card instead, ta-da, it's got 3 pips on it, and we've got a 3 pip in our village. That's terrible. That means that the direwolf would have been able to kill Abi. Now, you don't necessarily kill the card that matched the stone value. It just means you have to take 1 person from your village and kill them, and you're not allowed to kill the tribal leader, so that's probably why he's giving you the big thumbs up. He can't die. All right, so the next thing that we can do as an action is we can recruit Leah the Explorer. Explorers cost a little bit more resources, 3 food or 2 teeth, and they only give you 1 arrowhead, but they increase your foraging value, which you can now imagine is a much safer way to get food because you're not drawing cards off the top of your deck and potentially losing cave people. And the last thing that the explorers do is they give you this foot symbol. See that foot symbol right there? You might also notice a foot symbol right here on this hill cave. So the great thing about having explorers is that once they are in your village, you can, for an action, you can explore a cave for free because you have a foot. You don't even have to lose the explorer to do that. If you did not have Leah the Explorer, then in order to take this cave, it would cost you 2 teeth. The reason you're going to want more caves is because the starting cave can only hold 4 different cave people, and you're not going to win with only 4. You're going to need more caves to hold more cave people. The next guy that we can recruit is Fuko the Thinker. He spends all day long staring at this egg, and because of that, our village gets 2 extra light bulbs. This gets us closer to inventing fire, as well as allowing us to invent various technologies, which I'll get to in just a minute. The last kind of person we can recruit is an Elder. This is Mo the Elder. She gives you 1 thinking power, and she gives you 1 foraging power. So as you can see, she's kind of a hybrid card. The last kind of action that we can take is we can invent a technology. All the technologies have a little circle symbol at the top. In order to invent a technology, we have to have light bulbs equal to the value in the top right corner. You don't have to spend the light bulbs, you just have to prove you have them. And then the technology goes into your village, and in this case, stargazing just gives you 1 extra technology. So that's pretty darn good. At this point, everyone takes their single action except the starting player, who takes 2. And then we will probably have less cards in the row, more cards will get drawn from the stack, and then we'll pass this and we will keep going. At some point, this fire card is going to come out of this stack of cards here. At that point, if no one is able to invent it at that time, it's going to immediately get shuffled back into this deck here. And when it shows up a second time, it's going to stay out for the rest of the game. One thing I didn't mention, in order to invent fire, you have to be the starting player. See that little conch there? So that adds a lot of reasons to get more teeth, because at a very crucial moment, when you have enough technology, you're going to have to be able to have the highest bid to win the starting player token in order to actually invent fire. At this point, we just keep going until someone wins, and I'm going to show you some examples of the creatures that we can kill, and I'm going to show you some examples of the technology, and then I'm going to give you my review. Here we can see some examples of the creatures that you can kill in this game. Obviously, we've got some funny stuff going on. We got like a bird, parrot thing over here, and Tyrannosaurus Rex. We've got a woolly mammoth and a saber-toothed tiger, Smilodon over here. So, I mean, obviously, I don't think ichthyosaurus and cave people lived at the same time, but that doesn't really matter because it's just kind of awesome being able to fight all these different creatures in the game, and they look really cool. All right, now I'm going to show you some of the technology. And here we have every technology that's in the game. I kind of sorted them in order from the cheapest to obviously the most expensive, being discovering fire. One thing I didn't really talk about in the rules is that this is where a bunch of engine building can really come into play. You can have technologies feed off of other technologies. Several of the technologies feed off of different types of people in your tribe. For instance, shamanism over here, you get 1 light bulb per little hand up thing per elder in your tribe. And so you can make all these things kind of go together. There are other technologies like this one over here, which also works well with elders. So that might give you, once you play the game a couple times, you might start to get elders knowing that there are technologies that work really well for them. So these kind of add up, and this is a big way that you actually create enough technology to invent fire, is by getting prior technologies. All right, on that note, I'm going to jump over and get into my review. I've owned Cavemen Quest for Fire for a couple years now. I bought it pretty much as soon as it became available, mostly on the back of the really cool art that I was seeing pop up on Board Game Geek for it. I also saw the mechanics that it was a light engine building game with some action selection, and so I bought it, and over the last couple of years, I've played it 6 times, which is a little bit low of a number considering the amount of time that I've had the game, but I'll jump into the reasons for that in just a little bit. As normal for my reviews, I'm going to start off with the things I really like about the game, then I'm going to cover some neutral potential issues for the game, and lastly, I'm going to go over some negatives. So let's begin with the stuff I really like. At the top is the bidding auction for the starting player token. I don't like auction games. That's just a mechanic that I don't enjoy. In fact, usually if someone says, hey, let's play this auction game, I will say, let's play something else. So it's not something that I would have expected to love so much about this game,
But that tiny little aspect to this game of auctioning these teeth to see who's going to be the starting player has so many interesting mechanical tendrils that really make it a satisfying decision. In fact, it's almost the most important decision you're going to make in the game in a turn is how much are you going to bid teeth-wise to be the starting player. And the reason for that mostly is that there are good cards that are going to come out, and there's going to be good technology that's going to come out. There's going to be that great creature that you could potentially kill that you want first dibs at, and being the starting player, having enough teeth to get to that is a very big deal. Also, denying other people from getting that one technology, like say the technology comes out that that I can acquire and that someone else can acquire, you want to jump in and get there first. So you're constantly looking at how many teeth everyone else has and what everyone else might be doing, looking at the card row. It's a very interesting decision to make, and I really like it. I guess also because it's a low value auction. 2 teeth is common to have. If you have 5 teeth, then you're rich. So it's do I go from 2 teeth to 3 teeth? Is a very interesting decision. It's not like games where you're like, oh, do I bid 53 or 55? So I really like the auction in this game. I also enjoy the light engine building that goes along with all these different technologies in the game. They're all different. Some of them, they're not all simple. Like some of them introduce new actions that you can do. The one card lets you sacrifice cave people, and another one gives you bonuses every time your cave people die. So those combo really well together. And some of them are simple, like the stargazing I showed in the rules. Just get a technology, but they range all over the board. Some of them seem really overpowered. There's one where you don't even have to draw for casualties when you fight monsters. So that's very expensive technology. You're probably going to get it late game, shortly before the game is actually over. I enjoy the way these things interact with each other. They're the funnest part of the game as far as the card being revealed. It's like, ooh, what technology is going to come out this turn? So I like that. And I just love the art in this game. It's just almost enchanting for me to think when I'm looking at these cards that an artist sculpted this. They assembled together in a figurine this big, and then someone took a photo of it. And there's a unique one for every single card in the game. That's a humongous labor of love. If you haven't gone there yet, I would definitely recommend going to the Board Game Geek site for this game. They have a bunch of behind-the-scenes photos for how they took all these images. It's really, really interesting, and I think it just adds a lot of the fun and intrigue to the game. Shifting into neutral aspects to the game, and actually kind of going along with that last thing I said, you have all this unique art, and then you have all these characters who are identical. Every explorer has the same statistics. They have different models, and they're all looking off into the horizon. Some of them are male, some are female. This guy's got a goatee. That's cool, but they all cost 3 food and 2 teeth. They all give you 1 arrowhead, 1 forage, and a foot. And, I understand it. It's a light game. It's almost a filler game, not quite. So they don't want to start inducing too much in the way of potential imbalances. But I don't know. It'd been really nice to have maybe 2 different types of explorers, 2 different types of elders. So you could say, oh, that's the really good foraging elder, and oh, that's the really good science elder. And just to add some diversity, you get all these cool, pretty pictures, but sometimes you really feel like you don't actually have that many different decisions to make because so many of these cards, you get 3 fighters out, they're all the same card. Many of the monsters also, creatures and saber-tooth tigers and stuff, the numbers actually, many of them are identical. And so that's like, oh, do I kill this one or that one? Thematically, you can say, I'm going after the saber-tooth tiger, but mechanically, there's really no difference between so many of the different things you can fight. The other neutral issue I have with this game is that it can definitely develop a runaway leader syndrome. Having a runaway leader in a game that's going to last like 45, 60 minutes is not the end of the world. But since this is very, you never punch any of your neighbors in the face. I mean, I guess the bidding is the closest you can get to really screwing with someone else's plans. And that is not going to hurt the engine they've already built. It's just going to potentially stall out the engine they are building. So if somebody gets to the point where they have this great engine, they're making lots of teeth, they might be making the most teeth. Well, you're not going to be able to beat them in the bidding to get the start player token to get that really amazing technology that came out, or that last thinker that's going to put them up to 8 light bulbs so they can win the game. It's hard to put a wrench in the spokes of somebody who just has their engine whirring. And that's a bit of a bummer that there was not there's no way for people to collectively gang up on somebody else. It's very one-on-one, but ultimately it doesn't kill the game. It's a bit of a bummer. Now I want to talk about negatives for this game, and there are two big ones I want to talk about. The first one is that fighting these monsters, I keep saying monsters, fighting these creatures, these animals, these reptiles, it's too random for me. I don't like revealing the top card from the deck and seeing if you took a casualty or not. It just sucks the fun out of a moment. I found, many games where you roll dice or push your luck or you're drawing cards on top of the deck and, yeah, you got it, or boo, crap, and I shouldn't have gone so hard. This game does not have that in it. This game, you draw it over and you lose a cave person. It's like, how? It was a 20% draw. Crap. I spent turns getting the food together, the teeth together. I sacrificed bidding order to keep those teeth to get that guy so that I could, why did I fight that Smilodon? And, that's not fun. That person isn't having fun in that moment. And that one person not having fun in that moment, I don't know, the way my play group plays, the way I play, I am not having fun when I see somebody else not having fun. It doesn't feel like a push-your-luck game, so this kind of push-your-luck kind of thing in here almost feels jarring. It's, whoa, what? Oh, crap, I have to lose it. And then, it seems like you can get a run of bad luck where, next turn you're like, okay, well, it's not going to happen again, and you try again, and it does, and you're like, we're half an hour into this game, and I've got back down to 3 cavemen. And, so-and-so over there has 6. I'm not going to win. And that is not great. I just don't like knowing that you're not going to win, first of all, and feeling like you're not going to win because dumb luck, that 20% draw or something like that. Because you can draft your cave people in such a way to try and keep them all having the same little values on the bottom so that you have a less likelihood of taking casualties, but 20% is 20%. And that's the minimum that can happen to actually kill your people. And yeah, it's just really not fun. And so what that means for me is that I stopped fighting animals many games ago. Like the 3rd game, I just stopped. And pretty much every game I play now, I forage. I just build a forage engine, because foraging, you don't draw for casualties, you just constantly work on this engine that you're building, and this leads into the second negative I have for this game, and that is replayability. You would think in a game where a quarter of the deck is technologies that are all different, that there would be just replayability out the wazoo, but functionally the way it feels is, well, first of all, it feels like there are half the amount of technologies that there are, because the way the discarding mechanic works, where you have, you've got these cards out in the card row, and you got a technology over here, and the turn's over, and somebody is going to discard these cards down until there are only 3 left, and then we will add more in. And if that person doesn't have enough science to research the technology that's out there, they're going to discard that research card and take it away from the tableau because they don't want somebody else to have the ability to get it before they will. So it feels like if a technology comes out on a turn, it's probably only going to be there for 1 turn before somebody discards it because they don't want other people to have the ability to get to it. And then it goes into that discard pile, and you reshuffle the discard pile when you go through the whole deck, but it's half an hour into the game at least before you reshuffle that deck. Also, many of these are quite expensive, and if a 6 value one comes out in the first turn, at some point it's probably going to get discarded for various reasons, and then that card's effectively out of the game for this whole game because it might not ever even show up again. Let alone the whole revealing mechanic where you reveal for casualties when you fight monsters. Well, that revealed card goes away. If that revealed card is a technology, then it's also not going to come out. And you might say, well, that's cool. That will add replayability because that means some cards aren't going to show up in a game. But it just ultimately it feels like you have to get lucky and be able to buy the card as it comes out. So the decision structure for actually purchasing technologies is rarely there. Usually it's, can I buy that technology? Okay, I will. I hope that the next technology that I'm allowed to buy will sync up and make a little engine. It's rare that you're like, ooh, which one of these 2 or 3 technologies am I going to buy this turn? So that's definitely unfortunate. And the replayability, it also goes into that thing I mentioned earlier where so many of these cards are very similar. And if you have the technologies, which are the interesting part, keep getting discarded, and all these other cards, which are all so similar to each other, fill up this row, you're going to have many turns where there are no technologies, or a technology that no one can afford, And it's like, okay, I forage, you fight a Smilodon, oh crap, it killed one of your cave people, you forage, okay, I'm going to forage. Alright, let's discard some cards to do it again. So, ultimately, that definitely is a negative for the game. I'm going to keep this game. I still enjoy it. Even though I said replayability is a big negative, and I think it is, it's easy to teach. I enjoy playing it with new people. I have a hard time playing this with people who played it with me 2 or 3 times. But when new people come into the group, I'll sit down, I'll teach this to them, and they will usually have fun unless they try to kill too many creatures, and then I've seen that kind of kill a whole game before. So that's definitely unfortunate. Anyway, I recommend playing this game at some point. If you can find it for cheap, I would definitely acquire it. I'm going to keep it. It's really cool on my shelf. I love the art. Ultimately, it's a neat addition to a board gaming collection, but mechanically, I would not say it's not the greatest. All right, so now I want to try something new that I've never done before. If you look in the description down below this video, I have a link to a really quick poll that you can do. It should take you like 10 seconds. And in this poll, it just asks you, which game do you want me to review next? I've got 3 options on there. I've got Crokinole. I have 2 different Crokinole boards. It's one of the most played games in my collection. The second game is Concordia, which I've played many times. It's a medium weight, really interesting Euro game. And the third option is Suburbia, and I also have the Suburbia Inc. expansion. So just take 10 seconds out of your day, jump down there, give me a vote. I'm really curious to see which one of those you guys are most interested in having me review next. And until that time, have a great time gaming.